Hello, guys. Welcome to Bears Boldly Go Disco Deck Star Trek Discovery Season 4 in review. What a mouthful that is.
Well, I mean, we don't have to say that much. We could just say Disco Decks. I mean, it's definitely under the Bears Boldly Go
Hey,
envelope.
people should get the full title at the start of an episode. Like when
Yeah,
you're
fair
watching the
enough.
television, it always happens. Like you're watching Star Trek Discovery and there's a guy who pops up and goes, "Hello, welcome to Star Trek Discovery."
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish TV worked that way. Like before you watch anything, just some guy like pops up on your TV and is like, "Hello, welcome to."
Well, I mean, it'd be like the previously on
Yeah, or the
things,
announcer in between, like on BBC and stuff. You know, the disembodied voice,
but it
the voice of
it
TV
should
God.
it should be where someone breaks the fourth wall. So it should be like Saru starts the scene with "Hello, welcome to Discovery." Season 4,
Hey, we've
episode 4,
got
and
lots.
then just turns and starts talking to Tilly, and then that's it. Just absolutely seamless.
Oh, almost play like.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of interesting stuff to say about Saru this week. I think
Yeah, we got
that
some stuff
horn
about
dog
Saru.
him.
Yeah, old dog. Yeah, I mean, a very literally old dog because I mean, obviously they're all like
Well, they're not. They're still the
uh,
same age. They travelled in time.
they're
They
the same
didn't.
age, but
They
I mean,
weren't.
at least in
If they
like
if they went into cryosleep, an argument could be made. But
yeah,
they didn't live through those years. They were here, and then they were here.
yeah, true. However, they've got an old perspective, so I suppose you could like use old not in the literal sense.
But this episode is called "All Is Possible,"
Mm.
and we learn that all is possible.
Indeed, and that's it for this week. So thanks for
This is a
joining us.
position where Michael get. Oh, spoilers for Star Trek Disco Season 4, Episode 4. All is possible. Spoilers beyond this point. In this episode, Michael gets given an unelected position of the most powerful person in the galaxy. Like,
Arguably, yeah.
yeah.
Out of essentially nepotism.
Like, it's not out of nepotism.
I mean, it's as close as.
No.
It's because
No.
it's
No,
because
this is out of qualification, not nepotism. Like,
well,
she's getting out of being a
yeah.
person of both cultures.
Both cultures, yeah.
But beyond the point, we'll get to that. That's further down the line.
Because that is because there's. I'd say there's three plots. This episode.
Yeah, there's three plots this episode. You've
Yeah,
got
three plots this episode.
the A plot is
What do we
Tilly's.
Tilly and Adira, I'd get.
Yeah, Tilly and Adira get the A plot.
Yeah.
The B plot is Michael and Saru, and then the C plot is therapy. Let's go to the C
I
plot
mean,
first,
I'd
because
also
I
argue
actually
that Saru has his own little side plot as well.
no, that's all part of the same plot.
Fair enough. Fair.
The C plot, I thought was actually really touched because in television and film, and generally storytelling in general, it's easy to basically resolve something.
Yeah.
The fact that he had that Booker had the mind meld, and now he feels better. But you know, life doesn't actually really work that way,
No.
especially when it comes to something as complex as grief.
Yeah.
Like or even like move yourself from grief, depression, things like that, and emotion in general, right? You've
Especially strong negative emotions.
Yeah.
They're hard to.
there are days you'll be
just
feeling.
resolve.
There are days you'll feel better, and there are days you won't. And it's a gradual process. Like just because one thing one day makes you feel a lot better about something doesn't mean in a couple of days' time you're gonna be still happy, right? Like, so the fact that this made a real effort go, no, it's work.
Yeah.
You have to work through this stuff. Like, you don't just get a magic cure-all.
No. And it's to be honest, it's quite brave, not just of Star Trek, but and the showrunners, but the writers as well, because like it's one of those things that we all sort of get a bit annoyed with sometimes in TV. That like when you have that brooding, grieving character, especially like I think. I mean, obviously, excuse me. Like things like say, Lana in season 4 of Smallville or something like that, where like you literally hope that Lana gets killed off because she's just so moody and so depressing, and like that where the writing just wasn't quite
But
at a
here
high enough
they're approaching
grade.
it in a nuanced way. Like, and Culber's fast becoming one of my favourite characters, I think.
Yes, I mean, I think the thing is that like again,
The ship
going to the
should probably
actors,
get a
like,
ship's counsellor, so the medical doctor isn't also having to.
Yeah, true. But I mean, those two actors, who are playing Culber and Booker, are doing some absolutely top quality work.
Yes.
In these, and it's so subtle. Like in a show that can be quite bombastic and quite
it's Wilson Cruz and David Ajala.
And they're there's a great subtlety to it, considering actually it's probably the rawest of the emotions actually at the moment. Excuse me. And yeah, great credit to the writing, the actors, obviously the director as well, for realistically in a scene like this, probably just sitting back and letting them do it, like just giving them the freedom and the comfort in what would be, still an expensive and quite time sensitive set of scenes.
It's the breakdown in the middle because the Doc is trying to get him to do a ritual that people on his planet do to move past things, I assume, to like handle grief. But it's meant to be done with the sand and soil of a planet that no longer exists, and he's having him do it with replicable matter, as that is what this future is full of. And he has it a moment where like, no, it's not the same, and that's the conclusion Culber wanted him to get to, right? Like, well, no, it's not. It never will be. Like, you can never go back to how things were.
Yeah.
Which is
it's
kind of what grief is, isn't it? It never goes. It just dulls with time. Like, to quote one of another popular show of this year, Vision, WandaVision. What is grief if not love preserving?
Yeah.
Like, I might have spoiled some WandaVision there for you. Sorry, I realise you're committed to watching it.
No, I mean, I sort of know, like, I'm very late to WandaVision. I think I'm 5 episodes in. I'm enjoying it. I know where it's going.
Plays with sitcoms in some very nice ways, doesn't it, in the early...
Yeah, and, like, it's... I like that Disney and Marvel have actually had the balls with these shows to make something drastically different,
being more experimental in the TV era sometimes.
Yeah, because I mean,
not
like
always,
obviously
but...
well, no, but I mean, I think they found quite a nice balance, really, because obviously WandaVision is like something very different. You've got What If, which likewise very different.
I mean, What If is relatively. What If, much like What If comics, is relatively inconsequential animated shorts.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the fact that they've bothered to make them.
Falcon Winter Soldier is very MCU.
Which is fine.
Loki is Doctor Who.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it's a slight departure.
Hawkeye is also very MCU, but set at Christmas, so gets an extra point.
Yeah.
Also, but, I mean, has Haley Steinfeld playing Kate Bishop, so that's a couple of extra points as well.
But I mean, still, they've had the balls to do something a little bit different with each of them. They're not just copy and paste, which they are accused of in the films, rightfully so in a lot of cases. And then, of course, like going nuts with like Phase 4 being, I tell you what, parallel universes, go have fun. Like,
But we're getting well off the beaten track here. This is the Star Trek show, not the Marvel show. So on to plot B. The Federation and Navarre conference to rejoin the Federation has unfortunately reached a standstill.
because of politics.
Yes, because while the presidents of both parties would like them to rejoin, there are people in both that aren't too happy. There's a lot of people in Vulcan who don't trust the Federation still and want an easy get-out clause, which defies kind of a point of joining in the first place. And then there's people in the Federation who don't want to allow anything like that.
Although it's interesting because it is something that, like, I've never really thought about with the Federation before. That, like, in theory, anyone could just leave the Federation, and, like, surely that just means that they don't get any of the benefits of the Federation. Like obviously,
Yeah, but I think we have a real world example of how this would function right now. It's not really that simple, is it? Like...
No. I mean, this was Star Trek doing Brexit.
But like the other thing though is, you kind of get why, and obviously, both parties, they kind of, the Federation president has kind of manipulated it so Michael and Saru can be there, because she knows good well. Well, Michael doesn't leave anything alone.
Yeah, Michael's a gobby cow. Let's.
No, that's not fair.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Michael does not know when to shut up. I mean, admittedly, she usually somehow gets it right. Like, but then she is the star of a TV show, so yeah. But yeah, Michael does.
I would describe it as issues in Scooby-Doo. Michael is the definition of meddling kid.
She is a meddling kid. Yes, she would make a great member of the Scooby Gang.
But and effectively, both presidents are like, we can't do anything about this. Wink.
Yeah.
Our hands are tied. Wink.
Wink.
I kind of, hey Saru, you look pretty hot. Wink.
Yeah.
Here's some tea.
Although let's face it, I mean that was Saru's side plot.
The Vulcan president is into Saru, it would seem.
Yes, big into Saru.
I mean, with a walk like that, can you blame her? Like that walk exudes. Like if I was in the club and someone walked in like that, I'd be like, yeah. God, I love that walk, man. It's just such a small character choice, right?
Yeah.
But just like, and something you can only imagine Doug Jones coming up with. Like, oh yeah, he's tall. He's gonna like.
But he's so bloody good, isn't he? He's so good. But he, which we've covered before.
The fact that you get the level of performance you get through the level of prosthetics that is something only a master creature performer. He's the best. I don't think he's the best in the business, right? When it comes to creature performance.
Working with, to be fair, the top drawer makeup department for doing those prosthetics, because like there is probably an argument at the moment that the whoever's doing Star Trek is the best in the business at the moment, because, as we've said in a previous episode, like, you know, doing this isn't cheap, and doing this every single week in a very, very highly detailed fashion. I mean, obviously, we'll get to Tilly's plot shortly, but there's a character in that has some very hefty prosthetic makeup as well. You know, this team is incredible.
But then also you get the benefits of, hey, these characters just have green paint.
You do. Although I have noticed with the oh god, what species are they? Orions, yeah. They have there is actually a small layer of prosthetic underneath a modern Orion because they make them extra smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And just slightly change their jawline and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll get to that later. So yeah, so Saru essentially uses his sexual prowess to gain the confidence of the Navarre president, whether he means to or not.
And yeah, they come to a conclusion that they're meant to solve everything because it's Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Whole world, the whole universe spins on the balance of a Discovery crew.
Yeah.
In a way that, even though the Enterprise was a flagship ship, like it never felt like in the past. It just felt like they were a piece of the universe. That is, I think, I don't know. I won't even call it downside, but it's a side effect of making Star Trek more drama heavy, more emotion heavy, more epic stakes heavy. But now the universe spins around one ship.
But then it does
it's the nature of storytelling when you're telling stories that have universal
consequences.
Yeah, universal stakes every season. The universe has to spin around your main characters. It just does. It's the nature of.
But then, it sort of makes sense in the case of.
It's the shift from.
It's the time shift in this one though, because obviously they are.
The time shift exists, but the time shift isn't necessarily anything to do with the plot construction of. It's the nature of like.
I don't know, because I mean, I think in this timeline at least, Discovery is the crew that actually has proper living experience of being that kind of ship.
Yes, but therefore I'm not talking about the in-universe reasons here. I'm just talking about.
Oh yeah.
Plot construction, right? Like
it. I mean, the thing is,
it's the nature of epic storytelling. You need.
Yeah.
It's why I think for some of the magical elements of Star Trek, the fantasy elements I feel more hyped up as well. Like the magic of Vulcans, the magic of various. Because some of this stuff is just straight up fantasy magic, really.
Well, yeah.
It's why things like the various psychic elements are more like, because it feels like we're telling a story more aligned with Lord of the Rings at times than we are necessarily with classic. And again, that I'm not saying that as any kind of dig against the show. It's just a different thing. But that kind of storytelling needs the universe to revolve around the heroes, as opposed to the heroes just being a crew in space doing the job, which is what a lot of Star Trek has been.
Yeah,
they're just solving small, isolated incidents of this planet has something weird going on. It's procedural television versus. I don't think in procedural television you ever feel like the universe is revolving around your characters. They're just there in the universe doing their procedure.
Although, I have to say, I've been quite impressed with this season, that being that there is such a massive mystery, they've been quite restrained so far in actually using that more as a plot device to have politics. I know it's going to ramp up. It's definitely going to ramp up. But I mean, it's of having it as a plot device to bring politics into it and bring personal discovery.
So
no pun intended.
Our A plot. Oh yeah. So sorry. Our B plot ends with Michael's compromise of a body outside of solving things for Starfleet Way. A committee.
Yeah.
A body outside of the Federation that can help kind of resolve any conflicts within it. And suggests herself to lead said committee despite being a captain of Starfleet.
She said sit on it. She
Oh
said
yeah, sit on
She
it.
didn't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Which does make sense because the thing
what
is that,
didn't
like,
make sense was
Hmm.
it followed like a comment about Starfleet. Like one of the reasons Navarre has one of the reasons that they don't necessarily trust it is that the Federation wanted Starfleet to have a say in matters. And now there's a captain of Starfleet sitting on this oversight board. Like,
Yeah, but she's also there from a Vulcan perspective as well.
that's the
'Cause, I mean,
notion that because she is a citizen
yeah,
of the Federation and a citizen of Navarre, and trained in
mm,
the logic of Navarre, or
mm,
what would have been Vulcan in her day,
yeah.
um, that
Because I mean,
she
let's face it, she's very very like well established at being a rogue within Starfleet as well.
yes.
So like, I mean, like the entire
Let's be
series
fair.
opens with her being a prisoner.
If her
So,
existence hadn't been like classified,
yeah,
Burnham would be Ensign Beckett's hero.
yeah, absolute hero. Yeah.
But yeah, she would be. But obviously, Beckett Mariner can't know she exists because she's classified.
Although, imagine an episode
Does that
where
mean
she
no one knows
finds
why
out.
the war started? Like, does everyone look at that
Well, I mean,
Klingon Federation war and is like, no one knows, like, because a crew member decided I'm gonna blow a bunch of Klingons today. That be
well, I mean, in theory, they'd know the reason that the war started because, like, the that was several years before Discovery, wasn't it?
But the argument is that like Mariner Discovery's crew's entire existence are kind of classified because of various things, which is why Spock never once again ever mentions he has a sister. It's a nice
Well, I mean,
tidy,
yeah, yeah,
tidy way
I
to
suppose.
explain why he never mentioned in old shows. Oh yeah,
Uh,
my sister Michael.
mm.
But
But then
then,
at the
as
same time, if that Twitter thread that we
yeah, he's
referred
got a
to
lot of
last week,
siblings out there.
he probably has dozens. Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
yeah.
a plot.
Hmm.
Tilly's still searching for what she wants to do,
Yeah.
and she gets suggested to go help with an exercise at the academy that David Cronenberg is leading.
Yeah, running.
I know
Yeah.
he's got a character name, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, he's just Cronenberg.
It's
Cronenberg's
David
just
Cronenberg,
like
yeah.
he's just stepped into Star Trek, much like
I'm still fascinated. Like, what happened there? Like, like, because it's not like he's a prolific actor or anything like that. I think he's done tiny little bit parts here and there. Like, but
well, it's like Thingy being in Star Wars, isn't it? Werner Herzog.
yeah, yeah.
Like, it's another one where he's technically playing a character, but you're like, oh no, that's just Herzog in Star Wars.
But then
Get me the baby.
he also hasn't seen Star Wars. That's the thing that like Werner Herzog in that was just like, oh, this sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Like I'm aware of the existence of Star Wars, but I've never seen Star Wars, and therefore, yes, of course, I'll be in this Star Wars spin-off. And of course, the famous story of him crying when he sees Grogu.
Yeah.
It's but.
Well, I love how
Cronenberg
just bring me the baby has become a
there
meme as well.
Yeah. But Cronenberg seems to have been an even stranger bit of casting because you get the feeling with Cronenberg that he has some sort of interest in this. And there's more motivation to it. But at what point was Cronenberg in the right room at the right time with the right people?
To be like, I'll play your mysterious doctor that just hangs around the Federation base.
Yeah.
Because we still have no idea what his character is, or what his job is, or what he does, or...
Yeah, he's just there.
He's basically just Cronenberging around the place.
Yeah, I mean, he possibly is just David Cronenberg. Like, so at some point, like, we'll see a fly flying around, and he'll oh, not again. A fly go into a transporter bay.
Oh.
Like,
but yeah, invites Lieutenant Tilly, because of her experience, to come and help with a training session, because the problem they're having is no one knows how to work together. because no one's had to for the past century or so.
Well, not even had to. No one's wanted to.
Or been
because no
able
one
to
trusts
because they
each
can't
other.
travel.
Yeah.
This is the first time a lot of people are seeing species that aren't their own, right? This is,
Or even
it's
areas
almost
outside of their own.
It's almost first contact again for a lot of people.
Yeah. Because, I mean, 100 years can be quite a long time, really.
I mean, it is a long time.
Yeah, no, but
it's
I
a
mean,
human
like,
lifespan at least.
but I mean, culturally, when there's been such a big event as the burn, 100 years is long enough for cultures to change significantly.
Turns out it's roughly
Whereas,
the right time for fascism to come back as well, if you judge it on Earth's timescale.
yeah,
Bit of politics. That's my new mission. I'm making this show more political.
well, you know, for us in the UK, we only needed 13 years of Labour government and you know, a relatively decent period of time for us to go, you know what we really, really want? Hate. We want lots and lots of hate, and we've got it. So there you go. So, and the people of Shropshire, you know,
I take it the Tories won the by-election.
it's in 2 days' time.
Oh, 2 days' time. Hey, you mean,
as of recording this,
you don't know yet. It could go the other way. It won't, but it could.
Well, I mean, the Lib Dems are that close.
Yeah.
But it needs Labour voters to jump on the Lib Dems and Green voters, etc.
Maybe if someone could just give us another Tory party.
So,
like,
well,
not another Tory party as in the party, as in another Tory Christmas party of some flavour to be outraged about.
I mean, obviously we're going massively off topic here, but watching the news this morning, and they were doing some talking heads in North Shropshire. I think Boris Johnson would quite literally have to run through the streets naked, burning people's houses down for them to even contemplate the idea that another party even exists.
I saw one video where it's like, "Hey, what's he done for you?" "Oh, nothing." Why are you voting for him? It's like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, what's he done for you? Oh, he shot my doormat this morning. You still voting for him? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of fun, isn't it?
What's he done for you? He literally turned my cat inside out and washed my window with it. Who are you voting for? Tories, of course. 200 years they've had a Tory MP there without a break.
Yeah.
Like, almost literally since Parliament began in the United Kingdom. There's been, so, like, you know.
It really is people voting for the chopping block. It is a turkey voting for Christmas.
It is literally turkeys voting for Christmas, like, and it's a massive farming area as well, which of course has been ruined by Brexit.
It's like, but they're the only people who can fix a mess. It's like, hey, here's just a wild idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we give someone else a shot to fix the mess?
Yeah. Instead of the party that's created the mess, like who quite obviously, instead of tidying up, are gonna literally sweep it under the rug. I
don't even think they bother sweeping things under the rug anymore. Their government policy just seems to be, yeah, we're terrible, what of it?
Yeah, they don't care anymore.
Staring you directly in the eye as they... Oh, yeah, we just drowned a bunch of people, what you gotta do about it?
Yeah.
Like, that's just... Like, there isn't even any, like, cover-ups or thing anymore. It really just feels like, yeah.
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse, because you look at who's odds-on favourite to get the prime ministership, like Liz Truss, apparently. Can you imagine?
I mean, but the thing is, you look at the rest of them, and it's like,
Well, I mean, after her, it's Priti Patel.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Priti Patel, the person Dominic Raab this week had to be like, hey, maybe that's a bit much.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't get the feeling that Dominic Raab is quite as evil as the rest of them. He's nearly as stupid as Liz Truss. But I don't think he's quite as bad as the rest of them. Like, I do find
it's a scale though, isn't it? Like, not quite as bad as the rest of us. A bit like, hey, like being shot in the elbow is probably a bit better than being shot in the knee, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. That's
both like debilitating injuries, but
yeah. I mean, it's like it's like saying like skin cancer over lung cancer. It's like well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So they're both pretty bad. like,
like
but yeah.
what choice have you got? Well, we've got hate zero,
Mm.
and we've got full fat hate. Your choice, 20p
Yeah,
extra for the full
we've
hat
got
hate.
hate original taste. So,
Oh, sorry, we've just gone well off the beaten path here.
yeah,
My fault.
yeah. No, I don't mind because, like, Star Trek is politics. Star Trek is
Life is
about
politics, Matt.
society. Yeah, life is politics.
Everything
But
is
why bring
political.
politics
When
into it?
someone says don't make it political, what they're saying is we just don't want to have to think about it.
Yeah, what they're saying is they just don't care about people.
Yes,
Like, yeah.
everything is political.
But yeah, so Tilly, Tilly obviously full of self doubt.
We got a classic shuttle crashes on a planet and we've got a work together episode.
Yeah, with 4 nobodies, including what's essentially a red shirt. Spoilers.
Yeah, poor Lieutenant. They did move on from his death quite quickly.
I mean, they don't even mention it at the end. Like
No, they do.
When Michael comes to Tilly's
Oh,
room
yeah.
at the end.
No, but
like
you had David Cronenberg go, "Oh, that was tragic," and then everyone else is kind of happy. So yeah.
Yeah, true.
And again, here's one of those problems with when there was no kind of emotion in the show. This didn't flag as a weird thing. When the show is very emotional, it does flag as like, oh yeah, that guy died, and we're just kind of okay.
Yeah.
Like when everyone's cold and when everyone's basically Data and Spock, just with slightly varying levels of.
Yeah.
You don't kind of clock that stuff. Like when red shirts die, it's like, oh yeah, they're dead. They are just plot pieces. But
Yeah.
when that thing happens in a show that's all about feelings,
Yeah.
and you even get the nice slow moment where she closes his eyes, and it's like they almost did it and then just forgot about it.
Yeah.
But it was a good part. Again, some great character growth for Tilly. Tilly having to wrangle these, and Adira is an ensign, obviously, but
But in the same way that Wesley Crusher was, more than anything else.
Yeah, and them having to kind of learn to stick around with some cadets. And although one thing that made me note, like when one of the cadets was like, "Why should we listen to you?" And it's like, well, they are an ensign. They do technically outrank you. Like,
yeah.
they are your command. They are like your superior officer at this point.
As well as she still does have the memories of 6 or 7 other lifetimes.
Yes.
Including someone who used to teach at Starfleet Academy.
So was an admiral.
Yeah. So
I do like that.
Sorry, they. I said she there.
With Grey as well, because Grey's appearance is part of the start of this arc, kind of encouraging Adira to go off. And I did like Grey's. I liked that
I like their mullet.
Yeah, I like that they instantly have a new appearance because, like, oh yeah, we've got a body back. Let's.
Yeah.
I've got the power to like change.
Especially with like replicators and programmable matter and stuff like that. Like in theory, you could look whatever the hell you wanted to every single day.
Yeah.
Like within reason, because obviously you'd imagine that there's the equivalent of like blackface in that time, so you wouldn't necessarily like dress up as a different species. So unless you're on a spy mission, of course. So it wouldn't be like you wake up one morning and go, "I want to be Vulcan," and put some pointy ears on. Like
that would be wrong.
that. Yeah, that's interesting.
That would be appropriation.
It would, yeah, it would be.
But getting on getting on track. Yeah,
I feel like that's a Lower Decks episode that might happen.
Tilly has to wrangle these cadets who just don't trust each other together. You get that wonderful moment where we learn that appearances aside, they actually have a lot more in common. Like, one of the reasons... what is the... You got a human and Orion and...
I don't know.
I've seen the species before, but I can't remember the name.
They look like a warthog.
But he has a... He doesn't trust Orions because he was a victim of that Orion criminal syndicate from the last. But then we also learn that, well, so was the Orion. Like, they're both... They have a lot more in common than they're willing to... If they just...
Because, of course, the criminal syndicate, although a very prominent power within Orion society, isn't actually Orion society. And therefore, obviously, it's labeling everyone, like tarring everyone with the same brush. And it turns out that the father of this Orion character was an activist.
Yes. And was a political prisoner who I think was executed.
Yeah. So, in a different way, they've been...
Well, effectively trying to push for what would be considered Federation ideals. Right?
Yeah. Mm.
But it's... And they learn that they have... They learn to work together. That's the point of this plot, right? That they... And... They make it off, and Tilly decides that she's leaving Discovery.
Because David Cronenberg says, would you like to come to the David Cronenberg School of Cronenberg?
Again, in the current climate of a galaxy, feels a bad choice. Like, for the character arc, great decision. However, it's like, wait a minute, you're one of the sharpest minds on the science vessel that's tasked with figuring out what the hell is happening to this... planet destroying.
She is,
Enigma.
But then at the same time, Stamets can't take his head out of it at all. They've got Adira there, who is already established as probably being sharper than Tilly, but just not necessarily as wise. So in theory, actually having Tilly go to Starfleet Academy.
But what we have now is the two smart people without the person with common sense.
Yeah, the two smart people who don't have the social skills to
the one Discovery crew member who was relatively put together socially has now left the ship.
But then that's probably where Book is going to come in.
Well, it's all at the moment. It's all on Culber, so hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope this isn't writing her out of the show, though. I hope we're going to see her adventures on. The other thing that got me, right, that I thought was hilarious.
I mean, I hope it's not writing her out of the show unless that's what the actress wants.
Yeah.
If that's what the actress wants, fair play. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, like, it's probably quite a heavy schedule.
I mean, the way Discovery is structured, I think she's still going to be, like, the President has been in every episode. The President isn't on Discovery.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, but there's something like when the President said see you to Michael, she's like, oh, I'll see you at HQ in a couple of days when you get there.
Yeah.
Right, so they're heading to HQ. Tilly then takes a shuttle to HQ when Discovery's going there anyway.
True.
I know it's so you've got the getting onto the shuttle with a bag scene, but it's just like, hold on, this feels like a waste of dilithium. Have we got so much of it now that they're just being a casual?
Oh yeah, I mean, they've totally reverted back to like Americans in V8.
Yeah, like I'm just going to pointlessly take this shuttle to HQ, even though Discovery's probably quicker.
Yeah,
and would get there before me.
Well, I mean, let's face it. If they needed to, they could go to Black Alert and get there instantly.
Yeah.
So, including Tilly's shuttle. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe it's punishment. Maybe Tilly has to go there the slow way, and they're just going to turn up. Like,
Maybe we're going to get a bit of Starfleet Academy.
I mean, that is another option for another show.
Ooh, a Starfleet Academy show headed by Tilly as the new...
Because there has been... They've pondered that for years, whether to do a Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
And I think, like... Because, I mean, one of the ideas...
maybe this was a bit of a backdoor pilot.
It could be a backdoor pilot, yeah.
Well, it's not really.
This could be Gary Seven.
Yeah.
So, but they... Because one of the ideas that they pondered for a Picard show, not the one that's ended up being, was actually Picard in Starfleet Academy.
Young Picard.
Yeah.
That was back when things like Smallville were popular. They were pondering that idea.
Yeah, which, to be honest, I think that, like, obviously, had it not been probably too close to Enterprise being cancelled, it might have worked. Like, excuse me. Because obviously one of the rumored castings was Karen Gillan as young Beverly.
Oh yeah, it wasn't when. No, I got my timings wrong. It was roughly around the time of how Thingy was popular, wasn't it? The JJ films were at the height.
And she would have been incredible as a young.
And no one knew whether it was going to be the Kelvinverse Picard or whether it would maybe be a prequel to.
Which, to be honest, would have worked. I think it probably would have worked better as a Kelvinverse one, because if they did want Picard and Beverly to be at the Academy at the same time, albeit probably at different ends of the spectrum, then they would have to be in a different universe, because they're of such a massively different age.
But it's still heavily implied throughout all the show that they were cadets together.
No, they were, because he was already beginning to serve on a ship by the time that Beverly was in the.
There is heavy implication in backstory that him, Beverly, and Father Crusher.
He only knew Beverly because Beverly was dating his best friend. And so while Beverly was still in academy, I believe he'd graduated. Because there's quite a big age gap between them.
Is there a big age gap between
unless,
the
of course, he
actors,
went
or a
to
big
the
age gap
academy
between the characters, though? There's a different...
No, there's a big age gap between the characters as well.
Well, no, we know they didn't end up together because they're not together in Picard. I wonder if they did get together for a while after the films.
I think there's certainly an implication of that, yeah. So, I think that they just, like, were friends with benefits, to be honest. Like, it was very much a, like, when there's an itch to be scratched, that
but
they're the first port of call.
Stepping away from the romantic love life of Jean-Luc Picard, we always know the real love of his life is his archaeologist friend.
Correct, yeah.
But moving away from that, we shall say see ya.
Yep.
Live long and prosper, and we'll be back on the Discovery next week.
Yes, we will. And we'll be posting next week's episode on Christmas Day.
Maybe not. Maybe it'll post sometime else.
I think we need to record a Queen's speech to open it. So, a Bear's speech.
Maybe it'll post on Boxing Day for anyone who wants a bit of Boxing Day Star Trek reviewing.
Yeah. So, right.
But yeah.
On that note, live long and prosper, everyone. See you later.
Yeah, ta-ra.